Oh my God, I'm just sitting back and remembering that feeling. And I had no idea. I was like, what am I doing? I'm a little bit crazy to do this. And I got in there and I started skating around the bowl in my sari, and I felt like I was flying. It was the most amazing feeling. And there I was in my 40s. I wasn't even allowed a bike growing up, by the way. I was in my 40s and I was in a bowl and I was skateboarding in a sari, and I was like, wow, life is good. And that, I think that energy and the visual representation of anything is possible, posted that, and that went viral.
Hello, you are listening to the Late Bloomer Living podcast. I'm Yvonne Marchese, your host, and I'm so happy you're here. I created this podcast to give you inspiration and let you know you're not alone in feeling stuck in midlife. I also invite you to join the Age Agitators Club for women, where we come together monthly to hatch our plans for making waves as we age. Being part of this community for women will remind you on a regular basis that you're not too old, and it's never too late to do that thing you've been thinking about. You can find more information at latebloomerliving.com/community, and I hope to see you there. Hello, my friend. Oh my goodness, we are going to have some fun today. I have a guest with me whose name is Orby Roy. She is also known as Auntie Skates. She started skateboarding at the age of 43 because she got tired of sitting on the sidelines watching her family have all the fun. She started sharing her skateboarding progress on TikTok during COVID, and everything went wild when she posted a video of herself skateboarding in a sari to celebrate the Bengali New Year. That video ended up going viral, and Auntie Skates has now become an international sensation. She's been on the Today Show. I mean, her life has exploded, and it's all because she started doing something fun for herself. Since then, she's helped hundreds of adults learn to skateboard. She's become a motivational speaker, coaching people on how to carve out their passion and start living their best lives, and teaching people how to enjoy the journey and not take the bumps, bruises, and falls so seriously. I'm so excited to have her on to talk about her journey today. So without further ado, here's Orby Roy, also known as Auntie Skates. Orby, thank you so much for being with me today. I'm so excited.
I am so excited. Thank you for making this happen.
Yeah. So, okay, where do we start? Your husband was a skateboarder, right?
That's right. My husband was a skateboarder.
Yeah.
He's a lifelong skateboarder. And actually, when we met, he had sprained his ankle, so he couldn't come to meet me. I had to go meet him, and he sprained his ankle from skateboarding. And I was like, what is this? Skateboarding? You're an adult. Are you like a professional skateboarder? He's like, no, man, I just like to have fun. It's a hobby. It's a lifestyle. And it just blew my mind that he skateboarded. And then when I would watch him skateboard, I used to watch him, Yvonne, with envy. I would be like, wow, look at this guy living his best life. He's like balancing work and fun, and he's happy. And I just thought, there's no way I could ever do that. I thought it was too late for me.
Wow. How old were you guys when you met?
We were 30 when we met, and no regrets. If I had started then, sure, maybe I would have been better, but my life wouldn't be where it is now. But I used to watch him skateboard and think, it's too late for me. I'll never be any good. People are going to make fun of me. There were no women skating then, really, not really. So I don't know. He would skate these big transitions with his friends and have the best time. And it was, I don't know. He looks good. I'm not going to lie. I still like watching him skate.
So what flipped the switch for you?
It was my kids, actually. So they started skating, so this wasn't exclusively something he would do with his friends anymore. He started doing this with the kids. And then I was sitting on the sidelines watching them and videoing them and getting excited. And I just realized I didn't want to sit on the sidelines anymore. I didn't want want to sit on the sidelines and be the side character in my own life. Like I don't want to do that. So I said, all right, I don't care anymore if I'm any good. I don't care anymore if people laugh at me. I don't care anymore if people think it's too late. I just don't care. I just know that I don't want to be sitting here anymore. Like, I think, sometimes we don't do things for ourselves, but then we're more compelled to do them for our kids or because our kids are there. And I take full advantage of that. Whatever kid thing they're doing, I'm all in. So I started skateboarding with them. I took a lesson after my daughter's, she had a lesson, and then I took a lesson, and I fell really hard, and I got back up, and I was so stoked. I mean, whatever it is, whatever that moment is where you're like, this is my life now. I had it that first time.
So you were stoked after falling. I find
Yeah,
that really interesting. Did you hurt yourself when you fell?
I did not. So I tried, I think I'd been on a skateboard a couple of times before. And at this lesson, I tried dropping in, and I had no help. I had no idea what was happening. I do not recommend doing this, by the
Okay,
way.
wait, I'm going to back up. I'm going to
Yeah,
stop you for a second because you said a term, dropping in. Can you talk
right.
about what that is?
Sure, of course. So dropping is when you stand on top of a ramp and you put your board down, and then you take your front foot, put it on the front of the board, and then you go down the ramp. So you're dropping into the ramp. So you
My
start at the
stomach
top,
is
and then
my stomach is doing like flip-flops just listening to it. And I've watched your videos before, and you're in these huge bowls with really steep drop-offs. It makes me think of like the first time I ever went rappelling. And
okay,
and I was in my 20s at that time, and I was not I was like, okay, let's go. I wasn't afraid to go rappelling until I got on the top of that cliff. It was like I don't know, 50-foot drop, an 80-foot drop. And you are there, and I'm there at the top. And I know that there's somebody at the bottom with the belay. They're gonna stop me from falling and dying. And I know the rope is all tied off and the whole thing. And still there's that moment where you're on the edge, and then you have to like let the rope out so that you are suddenly like parallel to the thing, and then there's no going back once you're
there's
there.
no going back,
There's
right?
no going back. So I can imagine that's kind of what I imagine when I watch you do those drop-ins. And I skate on roller skates, and I can tell you right now, I'm not doing that.
I think never say never. Okay, listen, Yvonne, it could happen.
I
You
did
never
meet
know.
a younger woman at the skate park once, and she was on roller skates, and she was dropping in, and I had never even thought of it as an option before seeing her do it.
Right,
And she really encouraged me that day. She was like, try going up the ramp a little bit and coming down. And so
right,
I
right.
do play with that a little bit, but I don't know that I'm interested in doing the drop ins. It
Well,
looks
fair enough,
super
fair enough.
scary to me.
It is super scary, but that's what's so awesome about it. I don't know. I feel like as an adult, every day gets kind of the same.
Yeah.
We wake up, we have our tea, we take our kids to school, you go
Yeah.
to work or whatever. It just gets a little bit monotonous. And then you throw this thing in where, oh, I'm going to drop into a 6-foot ramp. And that is very exciting. It makes me feel alive. It's liberating, like I really feel like skateboarding is the fountain of youth. And I discovered this fountain of youth that makes me feel like a kid again. And why wouldn't I want to do that? Yeah, sometimes it hurts when I fall, and people do get injured. You have to be careful. You have to do it properly. But when
Mhm.
you're standing on top, when you mentioned that point where you're standing on the top and there's no going back, that is a very exciting feeling. It's terrifying. And then when you get to the other side, so I was standing there terrified. I have nothing in my brain has prepared me for this moment. And I knew I was 43 years old, and no experience in my life thus far had prepared me for that moment. It's like, I have no idea what to expect here. I get to the bottom, I fall, but I did it. I did it. I faced this crazy fear, right? And then I got back up and I tried again. And I think that there must be some dopamine, adrenaline, lots of good, you know, hormones going through you, and it is addictive, right?
Yes. I will say that that first time I went rappelling and I went ahead and the first time took me a while to actually go, okay, Yvonne, just go. And so then once I did it, I was like, it was so fun. And then I was like, go back up, do it again. And it was like breaking the seal or something like that.
Right, right.
Um,
It's a fear of the unknown. A lot of it is a fear of the unknown.
yeah, yeah. I'm also wondering, like, for me, falling on my skates, because I wear pads, I wear a helmet, I wear pads, knees, wrists, elbows, the whole thing. When I fall and I don't hurt myself because of the pads, it gives me more confidence. Was that part of that for you too?
I think I've been very calculated about my progress when I first started. So, I had some personal issues come up in the last 3 years, so I haven't been skating as much. But in the first several years that I was skating, I really, I set a goal for myself, and that goal was to drop into the big 7 foot bowl, 7 foot on one side, 11 foot on the other. It's a gnarly bowl here called Ashbridge's Bowl, and I set that goal for myself because that's what I used to watch my husband do, and I was like, I want to do that. So I think having a goal kind of helped me, um, but also being very calculated and learning how to fall. Okay, so there's a few things that I was doing
Mm.
here. It may look like woo wee, but behind the scenes, I started on a small ramp. I really learned, and I just repetitive. There's muscle memory getting involved. I learned how to fall. I learned, when you first start skating, I would say that most people just wipe out, flat wipe out, right? So I encourage people to wear hip pads when they first start skating and onwards. And then I started learning how to knee slide, right? So once you start learning how to fall, then you can take bigger risks, right? So it was a process of 3 years of me starting to drop in and then me getting that 7 foot drop in. I know at my age, I still have to cook dinner, I still have to work, I still have to pay my bills. And so I was very calculated with all the risks I took until I had a beer, half a beer, a little bit of a beer. And then I had the liquid courage to think that I could drop into this 7 foot bowl a little bit earlier than I probably should have, maybe even a month earlier. Anyway, I went splat, I did the drop in, I went splat, bruised my rib cage. I was out for 8 weeks. I learned a very, very valuable lesson. I was out for 8 weeks, but mentally it took me 2 years to get back to that drop in, and learned a lot about myself. It's a lot of existential stuff that happened. But I think one thing about skateboarding is that it is a journey and you do progress. Sometimes you plateau. There's a lot of ups and downs. I, you know, for me, I was the type of person that always took failure very hard in my life. Anytime I started something new and it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, it was an instant failure and I took things very hard.
Mhm.
And when I was skateboarding, I was like, oh, wait, I can just get back up and try again. And not just try again, but you've learned, right? So I learned from that fall what not to do again. And so then I would do it again and I would improve. And so every time you do it, you improve. So the journey was so exciting for me and learning how to get over the fear. Well, actually, you never really get over the fear. You learn to do things scared and you learn to process the fear quicker, right? So it's really, if you learn to enjoy the journey and accept the journey for what it is and learn about yourself, then it's just such a wonderful thing, wonderful process you're going through, right? But you don't have to drop in to do that, by the way. Just any sort of progress, what you're doing, right? I don't know if that answers your question. It was a
It totally
meandering
does. It,
answer.
my mind is exploding right now because you've talked about learning to fall and how you're also learning to fail and move through fear to failure. Like we're not taught that failure is okay. I think especially as women, I we're taught that we're all, I'm still a recovering perfectionist. It is just always probably going to be with me, and there's no such thing as perfection. And my new mantra these days is done is better than perfect. And there's something about doing something that takes some risk that you have to move through it. And when you do learn to move through it, even if you fail and then you get up and you do it again and you try again and you try again, you're building these muscles of resilience, is what I'm hearing in what you're saying.
Correct. I think resilience is the key word here. Every fall you take, you build a little bit of resilience, and then that starts to creep into your daily life. And you know, the idea, the concept of falling and getting back up and trying it again was just not really something I understood before. My husband did, because he was a skater. And he would always say, oh, don't take it so hard, whatever, just try again. It's not that big of a deal. And I would want to wring his neck because I was like, what do you mean? I failed. I'm miserable. But learning and then learning your own limits is one important thing. Sometimes you smash those limits, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you learn that things aren't as important to you as you thought they would be. You know, when I first started that bowl, I said I want to try and drop in on the 11. Now I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to do that, and that's okay. That's part of your journey too, learning how to pivot. And I think the fear thing is something that I would say more often, I would say is the number one question that people ask me is how to move through the fear. And so that is an important thing to do, and also to take that into your day-to-day life, right? Sometimes you, and one of the things is, for example, before I started skateboarding, if something wouldn't work out, an opportunity wouldn't work out, I would take that very hard, right? And I would get down in the dumps for a while. And after I started skateboarding, some opportunities haven't worked out. For example, I had an opportunity to be on the Kelly Clarkson show. Somebody saw one of my videos that works there, and they were very excited to get me on the show, and they asked me to send them a video, you know, introducing myself, which I did, and it didn't go well. I think they weren't super happy with it, and the opportunity didn't work out. And before I started skateboarding, I would have taken that kind of failure really hard. In this case, I looked at it with gratitude. Like I'm grateful that I had a chance to do it. It didn't work out. Let me try something else. Or the door is open to try something else, right? And for some reason, that's what skateboarding helped me with. And I think that it's the fear of failure, fear of falling. And then when you learn to get through it and you get back up and you're like, oh, I'm okay, let me continue. You do it enough times, and then it incorporates into your daily life, and it's just this wonderful thing that happens, right? Another thing with fear of failure is that I still do things scared. I still get scared when I drop into that 7-foot pole, even though I've done it hundreds of times. But I know that I can do it, right? So there's some muscle memory there. There's the feeling that you know you can do it, you've done it before, and you have to do it scared, right? So I've learned how to process it quicker. So, well, people make fun of me because it still takes me some time to do my drop in, because I'm processing my fear, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the other thing is, and this is really, really important, it's something that I realized is the moment that you feel the most fear is the moment you take action. You have to do something in that moment. You are in control, right? If in skateboarding, it's bend your knees, bend your ankles, or get low, or get over the board. You know, there's always something that you are in control of, because your body is saying, I don't like this, whatever you're doing. And our natural instinct is to maybe move our body backwards in a jerking motion. That's the instinct. So we take over instinct and we relearn, get low. Take a deep breath is something I say all the time. Take a deep breath. What that does is it puts you in control of your fear, right? And not the fear in control of you.
That
and
is
I
good
tell you,
advice
learning
for
that lesson,
anything, isn't it?
yes,
Like
learning that lesson in
breathing.
skateboarding and bringing that into my daily life was like blew my freaking mind. It was just an amazing, like life-changing lesson for me. And isn't that cool?
So cool. It's so cool. Let's go back to, okay, so you start doing the videos, and like I videotape myself. I'm trying some new things on the skates. I want to learn how to roller dance basically. And so I'm drilling like you're talking about bending the knees. I'm like, yes, I'm learning. Okay, bend the knees, Yvonne, bend the knees, and getting on a foot and doing this stuff. You started videotaping yourself. Was part of that to see yourself so that you could kind of learn from what you're doing?
I would say that's the only reason why I started,
Uh-huh.
is to watch my progress, right? I
Right.
wanted to document my progress with my kids. We were all skating together, and you know, we were starting from scratch. So why not document the progress? And one of the cool things about that is that when you're not feeling like you're progressing at all and you look back, let's say weeks later, like, I don't feel good about my session. I'm not doing very well. You look back on your video, you're like, wow, I skated higher than I did last time, or a little bit faster, right? So it is really nice to see your own progress. That is why I started.
Yeah. And then a friend recommended to you that you post to TikTok, and that's where you really started to get some traction with audience, right?
Correct.
I know that posting a video of you in skating in your sari was one of the things that really went viral for you. Is that where you started with TikTok, or were you doing other things and then the sari thing like took it to the next level?
Right. So when I first started documenting my skate journey, I was I was Shaw Family Skates, and it was just my family skating, and I was just showing skate clips. But when I started, and then my friend Telma, who runs Later Skaters Gang, she is the one that we were just talking one day, and it was during COVID, and I think I was really bored, like we all were, and so I started to yell at my kids with an Indian accent because they weren't listening to me. So I took my mom's accent and I started yelling at them. They still didn't listen to me. But anyway, so Telma was like, "Oh, why don't you start a TikTok channel and share your story there?" So that's what I started doing. So the difference was is I wasn't posting skate clips like I was on Instagram. I was sharing my story on TikTok. And at that time, and still, that's what it is, right? It's sharing your personal story. And so I created Auntie Skates because what I saw was a lot of Indian women who still have this trauma of this auntie trope, right? Like people on Instagram were complaining about the auntie, and the auntie in my culture and a lot of ethnic cultures is the person who's very judgy, who will put you down if you're not married yet, or you have a little gray hair and they'll call you out on it, or you gained a little weight. They're always there in the corner lurking, right?
Mm.
So I wanted to be, I was like, well, I was triggered by that because there's been aunties in my life that have done that to me. But then I was like, oh, wait, I'm an auntie and I'm a fun auntie and I hang out with my nieces and nephews. So I was like, I'm going to flip the script and I'm going to be the auntie that builds you up and doesn't tear you down. Right. And so that's kind of where I started my journey of Auntie Skates, is that and bonus is, hey, I'm not going to judge you because look at this crazy stuff I'm doing. If Auntie can learn how to skate at 43, then anything is possible. You go out there and live your best life, right? So that was the journey I was sharing. The sari came in later. The sari came in just one day. It was the Bengali New Year. I missed my family. They were across the border. I couldn't cross the border. And my kids, I needed to do something with them that day. So I said, let's go skating. Took my sari. I love wearing saris. I grew up wearing them all the time. So I grabbed a sari, went down, and I said, I'm going to skate this bowl in a sari. It was very organic. My daughter got in the bowl and filmed me, and my friend was outside and he filmed me outside of the bowl and he filmed me. And that was it. And then I just posted it that day. I was living my best life. Honestly, Yvonne, oh my God, I'm just sitting back and remembering that feeling. And I had no idea. I was like, what am I doing? I'm a little bit crazy to do this. And I got in there and I started skating around the bowl in my sari, and I felt like I was flying. It was the most amazing feeling. And there I was in my 40s. I wasn't even allowed a bike growing up, by the way. I was in my 40s and I was in a bowl and I was skateboarding in a sari. And I was like, wow, life is good. And that, I think that energy and the visual representation of anything is possible, posted that, and that went viral.
And the effect of it going viral changed your life, but I mean, it had impact for other people's lives. Do you want to speak to what that has been like to
Oh my
have that kind of
gosh.
impact?
I really wasn't expecting, I don't know, I didn't expect anything. When I put that video up, or when I started Auntie Skates, I just did it to spread some joy. I really didn't know how far it would go. And when I posted that video specifically, it really is a visual representation of anything is possible, right? And it doesn't have to be skateboarding. So it went far and wide. It went all over the world, that video. And I had people reaching out to me. I'm going to give you some examples because it's quite amazing. One woman, she said, I've raised my children, but I've always wanted to be a pharmacist. And I saw your video skating in a sari in your 40s. And I thought, if she can do that, I can do anything. And so she went back to school after raising her children to go to pharmacy school.
Did your head just pop off your body, or did your heart pop out of your
I
chest
cried.
Yeah.
I cried. I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I couldn't believe that I really wasn't expecting it. My heart was so full. Like, it was unexpected, right? Such an unexpected joy to, and that they shared that with me. These people were sharing that with me, that I affected their life that way. And somebody was saying, somebody in Australia, she said, you have a ripple effect. You don't even know the people's lives you've touched here in Australia and how many people's lives you've changed here, right? And that was another bonus that I wasn't
Wow.
expecting. Another boy wrote me from India, and he said, I've always wanted to go into music, but my parents were pressuring me to go into engineering. But watching your videos made me realize that I should follow my heart and go into music. So I told them today I don't want to do engineering. And yesterday I
Wow.
got an email from somebody who is, she quit, she left her job for whatever reason, and she wasn't able to find a new job because she's an older woman. So she's like, you know what, if Auntie can do it, I can do it. So she's starting her own company. And I was like, yeah, you can do it. I mean, maybe I'm an anarchist, maybe I'm telling people to just go out there and live your best life and be a little crazy, and maybe, um, remember that inner child that you have, that we all have, and kind of feed that inner child a little bit.
Yes.
But I'm happy to be that representative, to be like, go out there and do the crazy stuff you wanted to do, right?
It's incredible. Hey, we're going to take a quick break here so I can tell you about an awesome resource that I think you're going to love. Here's the thing. We are always works in progress. Do you find yourself wondering, what do I want to be when I grow up? If so, then I think you're going to want to subscribe to We're All Getting Older, which is a weekly newsletter written by Lou Blazer that's all about continuing to grow and get better in the second half of our lives. We're All Getting Older is a sponsor for this podcast, and I'll tell you, I get so much benefit from reading Lou's newsletter every week, and I think you will too. She writes the newsletter for midlifers who believe in getting better as we get older and making the most of life's second half. So if you want to subscribe to that, it is on Substack, and you can easily find a link to subscribe at loublazer.com. That's loublaser.com. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. When you and I spoke last week, you talked about how important this has been and how much you wanted to talk about the importance of mental health and what this has done. I'm assuming for your own mental health, or are you hearing from other people about their mental health? Talk a little bit about how that is important to you and why that's important to you.
Yes, mental health is such an important part of skateboarding. I remember my husband would have a bad day of work, and he he would actually say, I'm going to go have an angry skate and then I'm going to come home. And, because he just, he's not going to go have a drink at the bar. He's got to process that anger somehow. And he would come home and he'd be super happy and life was good, right? Didn't really understand it back then. Skateboarding is a moment where you can forget about all your problems and just go skate. I cannot think about anything else that I'm doing except whatever is in the moment because I don't want to fall and hurt myself, right? So you get into this moment. There's so few things that you can do nowadays where you're not picking up your phone constantly, you're not thinking about your daily chores or errands, whatever it is. But you get this moment where you're allowed to be free and you're allowed to just focus on what it is you're doing. And you get a rush, you feel good, it makes you, feel happy. And let's say, for example, in the South Asian culture, I think taking care of your mental health, going to see a therapist, there's a stigma around all that, right? A lot of people aren't able to afford going to see a therapist. Maybe you can't find it or you don't have the means. Another thing is a lot of people simply don't have the words to express their emotions. They don't know how to talk about how they feel, right? But that doesn't mean that they don't need an outlet. We all need an outlet. We all need something to help us get through the day or whatever it is, get through a problem. And that is skateboarding. And that
Yeah.
is something that is such a gift that I find for people who are in a bad mood. I've seen it myself. I've been unwell recently. I had a concussion. I wasn't able to skate for a while. Man, I was in a bad mood. You can ask my family, it wasn't good. Um, and not to have that be able to skate was very hard.
Yeah, I will
It,
say that is so true. Like to have an outlet, whatever it is, and it may not be skating for somebody else. Like I don't expect everybody to go out and get on roller skates. For me, it's been paddleboarding has been something that, and again, it requires such focus when I'm standing up on my paddleboard to not fall
right.
in. And the minute my feet hit the water and I get on that paddleboard, my cares just float away. It's like magic. And my husband, sometimes he'll come home from a day, a work day that's like a day. And I'm like, dude, you need to go swimming. Cause I now know that for him, it's swimming. And he's like a reverse gremlin. You remember the movie Gremlins
Yeah,
and
of course.
the cute little gremlin? And they warn him and they say, don't put water on the gremlin because then they turn into
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
crazies. For him, it's reverse. If he's like the crazy, pour a little water on him and
Oh.
suddenly he's the cute little fluffy thing. He comes out of the water like, hey, isn't life great? It's an awesome day. It's like
You
if
should do this.
everybody,
You should just like throw water on him if you guys ever get in a fight. Just like throw a bucket of water on him. Let me know how that
oh,
goes. Sorry,
he
sorry,
is,
sorry.
he is not going to appreciate that, but it might happen. And it's so like if you're listening right now and you don't know yet what that is for you, keep looking for it. Like it doesn't have to be any one thing, but you're going to know what that is when you find it because it's this thing that clicks in your body. Is that for me? That's what it
Yes,
is,
correct.
right?
And it's fluid too. It doesn't have to be the same thing. So my husband, for
Right.
example, he's often injured because he's a lifelong skater and didn't take care of himself growing up. So he's broken now all the time. So
Uh-huh.
he makes masks. So he actually made a cast of his face and now he makes masks. And I tell you, he goes into that front room and he just happily makes his mask. And there's no injury in there involved and he gets a chance to just check out for a while. I encourage everyone to find that thing that makes them check out for a little bit and find time for themselves. Put the phone down because it
Yes.
is an epidemic for our mental health, our children's mental health. Put the phone down and just enjoy yourself. Whatever it is, go find a friend, do it by yourself, crochet, knitting, painting, anything.
Yeah.
We deserve this, we're adulting so hard all the time.
Oh, it is so hard. It is so
Yeah, and it's not
hard.
fair. It's not fair. Listen, I know my parents, they adulted so hard all the time and they didn't have these things for themselves. But
Hmm.
but my parents were the first ones to encourage me to keep skating, I think they were feeling a little guilty about the no bike rule, but they saw how happy how much happiness it brought me and they want to make sure that we all want this for ourselves, for our kids, for our partners. We want them to be happy and healthy. And this is a key element in making us happy and healthy.
This is so, it is so much a part of what I'm discovering for myself right now. And I'm trying to trumpet it out to the world that play is so important. It is essential to us. We are born to play as babies. That's how we learn to walk. That's how we learn to talk. It's through experimentation. It's through just the joy of doing things, and then it gets trained out of us so that we become these responsible humans who are productive and all that, which is great. But we need to find some sort of harmony between being a responsible adult and listening to our hearts and letting ourselves explore, which is
Yeah.
what you're doing. And I think that's, I'm going to get, I'm getting verklempt here. I think that's why what you're doing resonates so deeply with so many people, is they're seeing that hope for themselves in your journey.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad that that's something that people see and that resonates with people, because that is so much a part of my message. I have had some really, really difficult times in my life, and that is why I do everything with so much gratitude now, because I'm so, so grateful that I found these things in my life that helped me get through the tough times, right? I've had moments of incredible loneliness, uh, failure at work, like bad relationships, you name it, I've had it, and I didn't have those things back then to help me get through it, right? And now to have those things and to be able to pass that message on to people and show people it doesn't matter what you've done. The moment is now for you to go out and live your best life. I could have lived, yeah, people have asked me all the time, do you wish you had started skating earlier? I'm like, no, I'm just glad I started skating at all. I'm just so glad this is in my life, because it has improved my life so much. And everybody deserves that. Every single person deserves that happiness, right?
Amen.
No matter what your past is, no matter where you are in your life now, you deserve this, right? Get over that fear. Get over that fear, whatever it is that's holding you back, and go out there and do the thing you always wanted to do, right? I had like, I joked about it saying that it was a midlife crisis. I built a ramp in my backyard, that it was a midlife crisis, but really it was a midlife awakening, right? I was like, man, we're living longer these days, right? People are living decades and decades longer than they used to. We got a long life ahead of us, man. And I want to be able to have fun and be with other people that are having fun. It's life changing. Yeah, I can't stress enough how life changing this is.
It is. And yes, there's risk involved in what you're doing. There's risk for me in roller skating. And here's the thing, there's risk in everything. Everything has risk. When we don't acknowledge it, you could just as easily, and I've done this, fall tripping, walking down the street and hurt yourself. And I did have an injury back in May. I tweaked my shoulder from a fall, and I'm still recovering. I'm doing the PT and all the things to get better. And the fear is real, getting back on my skates. But there is like this buildup of trust in myself to push through the fear, to do the thing that feels good. And that's the whole point of it, is that it feels good
Oh,
when
so
I'm
good.
on my skates. When you were talking about being in your sari and that feeling of flying, I was imagining how different that must have felt for you than getting out in your regular, skate garb, right?
Mm-hmm.
To feel the fabric pulling against and flying in the wind, and how much that must have added to it,
Oh
and
my God. I felt like a superhero.
you feel free, right?
Yeah, I felt free. It was incredibly liberating to be skating in that sari. And at the time I was just doing it for fun, but now looking back on it, it's such an important message that anything is possible. You can do whatever it is you want to do, right? Forget about cultural norms, forget about stereotypes. forget about your own restrictions that you placed on yourself. You know, anything is possible. I didn't have many doors open for me, you know, in my career or in my life or whatever it is. So I created my own door. Like, I'm going to go, oh, there's no door for me. Let me create this door and I'm going to go through it. Right. And to that end, I will say that representation matters. I think it's really important to see different variety of people out there at the skate park. You know, we go to the skate park and we're a brown family rolling up, put all pads on. And when we first started, there was no one else like us out there. There are no moms out there, no families out there like that. And people would see it. I've had parents come up to me and say that, you know, people of color come up to me, parents, and said, you know, they saw my son skating and then they were like, I want to do that. I want to be like Rohan and I want to skate. And isn't that something so special? It's a privileged responsibility, right? I feel very privileged to have this responsibility
Yeah.
of showcasing that representation matters.
Yeah. What's coming up for me in that story too is yes to the representation. When we give ourselves permission to live our best life, it gives permission to other people who can see themselves in us. That's representation. You know, whether you're a woman, whether you're a person of color, whether you are older or younger or whatever it is, if somebody looks at you and identifies and sees you having fun and goes, I want a piece of that. I want to do something like that feels that good, you know? How great
I think there's a lot of intersectionality with me, which is good because I do resonate with so many different types of people, you know, people who are of color, moms, older people, you know, you name it. I've cross-sectioned it, right? Which is a wonderful thing. And I take that responsibility seriously. Well, not that seriously because it is skateboarding and it is about fun in the end. But I agree. I think that is my message, right? I'm out here, I'm having a good time. Come and join me, you know?
I'm always struck by, you know, the power, the potential of one little change that a person can make in their life that then is the seed to all these other things that end up happening. And here's the thing, don't put pressure on it, right? If you want it to be joyful, I think it has to come from a place of joy and curiosity. And I think that's why that's where it came from.
I think I agree. I agree. I think people can see through if it's not authentic, right? People can see it. And I think that because it was authentic, my message was authentic. I just did it for fun. I had no, you know, agenda except to spread joy, right? Because like I said, I've been through so many difficult times in my life and in so many dark places, like really dark, right? And then to be able to find this thing that brings me joy, I wanted to share that with as many people as possible. And at that time during COVID, you know, like a lot of people needed to hear that message. It was a dark time, right? And okay, I got to tell you something really cool, which is this past weekend, a group of ladies came to visit in Toronto to skateboard, and we skated all weekend. And these women, they were the ones that came to my first retreat in Costa Rica. In January of 2024, I held a retreat in Costa Rica. It was 7 nights of skating and surfing and being together. And it was a ladies' retreat. And, you know, it was life-changing, transformative for a lot of people, right? And not only that, you know, it was nice to just go down there and meet people as themselves. People were able to reconnect with themselves. And these women got to present themselves not as wives, not as mothers, not as daughters, not as siblings, just themselves. And I think we've all forgotten who we are, right? And so to go down there, we're like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. So to watch the friendships form over skateboarding, which is so much fun. It was like an epic retreat. I think one of the guests Colleen, she calls it the unicorn of trips. So they all planned a trip and they just were here for 4 days and we just skated for 4 days. And they
instigated this visit to you, right? This wasn't even you saying, hey, let's have a reunion. This was them. That's how transformative that was.
that group chat, that WhatsApp group chat is so active, but there's no pressure, right? If you're out of it for a little bit, there's no pressure, right? And I think that's the wonderful thing when you meet around skateboarding. Women create communities, right? And this is the community I'd like to think that I've played some small part in, is helping create this global community of female skaters. And I've decided to do another retreat in January of 2025, and it's 8 days, 7 nights, and that 8 days is the magic number of the perfect time for a vacation. So women, you're allowed to give yourself 8 days to come down and skate with me and surf with me in the jungles of Costa Rica.
Oh,
The
and
ladies
you
so far that have
surf
booked,
too.
yeah, there's surfing, there's yoga, meals are included, transportation's included. Like we're going to do breath work sessions. We're going to just, hang out by the pool. We have our own pool. We have our own place. We have our own bar. It's right in town. The shopping is like, the place is just amazing. It's just like a little enclave in Costa Rica. By the third day that I was there, we were walking back and forth and everybody was saying hi to us. They loved our energy. Everybody was welcoming. So I'm doing 2 trips in January. It's about 70% booked. And I think your listeners would love to join us. It's going to be so, I mean, look, like, it was such a good, you can't promote it anymore. The best testimonial is the fact that they all came and visited and skated.
It's so good, so amazing,
right?
So amazing.
And there was no pressure on me. They made, I made the skate plans because I know the skate parks, but everything else they just did. And oh man, like, to watch their faces when they all came together and we all hugged each other, and to just feel like, it's like a sisterhood, right? Yeah. Now I'm getting a little of the cleanse.
I can see that, and I love it. I love it. Yeah. I love that it has that effect
magic
on you.
For me. That's that's magic for me, that I'm able to bring people together like that. That was what I said. I found this fountain of youth, and I want to share it with as many people as possible, because it brought me so much joy that watching that happen in real time, people finding that joy and me being witness to it, is like, it makes my heart so full that tears are coming to my eyes now. So yeah.
Amazing. I'm so glad we got the chance to sit and talk today. Where can people find you and find out about the trip and all the other things?
Yeah, you can go to auntyskates.com, or you can go to my TikTok, which is Auntie Skates, AUNTYSKATES, or my Instagram, which is my most active channel right now. You'll have to bear with me on the mom content that I do, because I am also a mom and it's consuming. But I post a lot of tips and tricks and stuff about my trip, and come say hi. I love to see all the skaters out there. So I'm still a little teary-eyed.
Oh my gosh. I feel you.
Thank you so much, Yvonne.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. I hope this conversation with Orby has inspired you to embrace play and step out of that comfort zone, baby, no matter your age. If you want more information about Auntie Skates, you can find a link to her website in the show notes. Just go to latebloomerliving.com/podcast. Look for episode 203. And hey, if you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. It really helps the show to reach more listeners like you. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Late Bloomer Living for more inspiration and encouragement to keep on living playfully at any age, because I know I need to be reminded on a regular basis. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, keep growing, keep playing, and bloom like you mean it.